Hello and welcome back to the Colorado Skyline. Today we will be talking about Cottonwood Pass. The Cottonwood Pass trailhead is located only 30 minutes west of Buena Vista, and being easily accessible by a paved road with dedicated parking spots no less, this trail is probably one of the easiest places to access, if you are willing to make the drive. As mentioned before, this is a very easy trail, only about 3.1 miles for the round trip. It's also not very steep. Elevation gain should be no issue either, as at its steepest point it only ever gets up to 25% grade, but on average is much closer to about 10%. There is never any shade during the hike, but the high altitude and constant breeze should keep you cool, perhaps even cold depending on how early you hike. Overall, this is a very welcoming trail, accessible to both children and pets, and if needed, the trail can be completed in just over an hour. Now that I've finished with a quick overview, let me begin to show off all the great things I saw during my hike. Before I start, let me quickly mention that I did all the photos on the way up the trail and all the video on the way back down. This was so that I could focus more on the photos and on the video for each respective part. Now, as a result, there may be a bit of a difference between the photos and the video, but as you'll see later on, this turned out to be quite a benefit, as there was a weather storm coming in later that looked really cool on video. The first thing that I filmed here at the end of the trail is the Sanford Basin. Now this basin is about 2 miles across and is completely covered in pine trees, which is the exact opposite of the basin you'll see coming up. Now turning to the left side of the ridge, we get to see the Cottonwood Basin. And looking down the valley, we get to see the Cottonwood Creek. The Cottonwood Creek runs from here all the way back down to Buena Vista. The valley through which the creek is flowing is absolutely stunning. If there were no haze and we had perfect visibility, we'd actually be able to see Pikes Peak from here, right through the valley. Focusing back to the basin, I'm constantly drawn to this little island inside of a lake. This is the Lost Lake, inside of which there is a little outcropping of rock, no more than 100 feet across. There is a separate trail, fittingly titled the Lost Lake Trail, that leads up to this lake if you want to visit. I know for sure that someday I'll come back and be able to visit this lake up close. Here's a photo of the upper part of the basin. Hiking down is quite fun. The trail is colorful and well maintained. Once again, I'm drawn to the Lost Lake, and who wouldn't be? I love its shimmer and its beautiful blue color. I've shown a bit of it before, but here's a closer look at that upper basin. Now, if there's one thing to know about me, it's that while I do love mountaintops, it's usually the valleys or the basins between the mountains that I find to be the most beautiful. In this particular basin, I especially love this oddly shaped lake. I wasn't able to find an official name for it, but because of its shape, I'll refer to it as the Tree Lake. One odd thing that I do like about this trail is how clear it is. Usually a trail is more of a blemish on a landscape than a feature, but in this case it just seems to cut so smoothly across the ridgeline that it seems pretty attractive. Looking back from where I came, I get a great view of Jones Mountain. This second photo is one of my favorites from the trip. The rocky cliff face of Jones Mountain in conjunction with the large outcropping of boulders in the right bottom third of the frame give the image a sense of depth and grit that I really love. Here's a photo of the trail leading up the pass. After a bit more walking, I get to a point of the trail where the ridge points towards the West Basin. On this side, there is less grass but more trees, similar to the Sanford Basin that I showed at the beginning. Here's a photo of the basin above Cow Lake. I love this photo for its dramatic lighting. It's very moody. By now it should be clear that there's a small storm moving in. The mountains have shifted from their bright orange of the morning light into a more contrasty bluish green. Personally, I think it looks fantastic. Back over the eastern basin, there are now these beautiful light rays being cast through the clouds. The highlights help bring out detail in the landscape, like in this fourth lake. Or all these cars making their way down the mountain pass. The light also helps me capture this, my favorite photo of the trip. A simple landscape with a lake, orange hills, and a few mountain peaks, all bathed in soft light. This is the top of Cottonwood Pass peak. It has a little dugout to take shelter from wind if needed. I've always loved these. The idea of a little rock fort is so amusing to me. On the horizon I can see the rain. I've never been a fan of being rained on, but I do always enjoy watching it from a distance. This spot is only 15 minutes away from the parking lot. If it's all you have time for, just get up here. It's absolute beauty in every direction, and is definitely worth the trip alone. And I do mean that there is a perfect view in every direction, not just of the two basins, but also of this mountain range. Here's a photo of Ice Mountain. I actually have a photo of the same mountain, but captured from the opposite side, up on my Instagram, co.skyline.photography. It's my 7th post on that account, and to this day is still one of my favorite captures. The slow winding road is very calming to watch from up here. I love the way the road gently winds through the pass, following an irregular path. The last part of the trail back to the parking lot is very relaxing. The basins are no longer in view, so attention falls onto the beautiful mountain range and the winding road in front of it. This is the last view of the trip. It's just what you can see from the parking lot. And yet, despite the fact that it can't compare to everything else seen today, it is still a wonderful view. That was the end of today's hike across Cottonwood Peak Pass. The trip was packed full of alpine lakes, lush basins, and dramatic mountain peaks. I hope that I persuaded you in checking it out for yourself one day. And if I succeeded in that, or you just liked the video in general, consider subscribing and liking. It would really help out. If you want to see more photos that I've taken, or perhaps enjoy them before the videos come out, feel free to check out my Instagram. Thanks for making it to the end of this video. This has been Miguel, talking about the Colorado skyline, and I will see you all later.